What if everything we know started over with one boat? Imagine waking up one morning and sensing something strange in the air, a heaviness. The skies are darker than usual. The world seems quiet, too quiet. And then a man, often mocked, often misunderstood, walks into a giant wooden vessel he built in the middle of dry land. People laugh, they jeer, they call him crazy. But then the rain starts, and it doesn't stop. This is the story of Noah's Ark, one of the most recognized and debated stories in all of human history. A tale that has inspired faith, sparked controversy, and echoed through countless generations. But what really happened? Was it a children's bedtime story, or a divine intervention that changed the course of civilization? Let's go back to the beginning of the flood, a world in chaos. The book of Genesis tells us that in the days before the flood, the world was full of violence, corruption, and moral decay. People had turned their backs on God. The earth, it says, was filled with wickedness. Genesis 6:5 says, "The Lord saw how great the wickedness of the human race had become, and that every inclination of the thoughts of the human heart was only evil all the time." It's hard to imagine a world so consumed by darkness, but perhaps not as hard as we think. Think of the worst headlines today. Now imagine if there were no justice, no restraint, just chaos. And then God decides to reset it all. But in the midst of this broken world, one man stood out. Noah. He wasn't perfect, but he was faithful. He walked with God in a time when almost no one did. The command to build. God speaks to Noah and gives him a terrifying yet divine task. Make yourself an ark of cypress wood. I am going to bring floodwaters on the earth to destroy all life under the heavens. Genesis 6:14-17. Now imagine the faith it takes to build a boat the size of a stadium with no sign of rain, no bodies of water nearby, just your belief that what God said will happen. For over 100 years Noah builds, hammer by hammer, plank by plank. His neighbors mock him. "Where's this flood you keep talking about, Noah?" They scoff. Yet he keeps going. It's more than carpentry. It's obedience. The animals come. Then the unthinkable happens. Animals, pairs of every kind, begin showing up at Noah's Ark. Lions and lambs, elephants and eagles, snakes, spiders, birds and beasts. They come not because Noah found them, but because God sent them. Noah, his wife, their 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, and their wives enter the ark. And then something chilling happens. Then the Lord shut him in. Genesis 7:16. God himself seals the door, and the rain begins to fall. The deluge. For 40 days and 40 nights it rained, but this was no ordinary storm. The fountains of the deep broke open, water burst from above and below, oceans surged, mountains disappeared beneath waves. The world as it was, drowned. Everything that breathed outside the ark perished. And the ark, it floated above the judgment, preserved by divine design, a symbol of mercy amidst destruction. Imagine the silence once the screams faded, the realization that everything was gone. Noah's Ark wasn't just a boat, it was a lifeboat of hope in a sea of judgment. After the waters, the rain stopped, but the earth remained underwater for months. Noah and his family were inside the ark for over a year. It wasn't just a 40-day cruise, it was survival, faith, waiting, praying. Finally, the ark came to rest on the mountains of Ararat. Noah sends out a raven, then a dove. And finally the dove returns with an olive leaf, a sign that life had begun again. Then God speaks again. "Come out of the ark, be fruitful and increase in number." Genesis 8:16-17. Noah builds an altar and offers a sacrifice. God responds with a covenant, a promise never to destroy the earth by flood again. And he places a rainbow in the sky as the eternal sign of that promise. More than a story. But is it just a story? Or could it be history? Many ancient cultures, from Mesopotamia to China to Native American tribes, have flood legends with shocking similarities to the biblical narrative. A massive flood, a chosen survivor, a boat, animals, a restart. Archaeologists and scientists have debated the possibility of a massive regional or global flood for centuries. The evidence, while debated, continues to spark investigation and interest. Even modern researchers have tried to locate the resting place of the Ark on Mount Ararat in modern-day Turkey. But even if some details remain mysterious, the spiritual truth is undeniable. The message of the Ark. The story of Noah's Ark is more than rain and animals. It's about judgment. God takes sin seriously. Mercy, He always provides a way out for the faithful. Obedience, Noah's faith saved his family. Hope, after devastation, God brings new beginnings. The ark is also seen by many as a symbol of Christ. Just as Noah and his family entered the ark to escape judgment, we are invited into a relationship with Christ to be saved from eternal separation from God. Jesus himself referenced Noah's story. As it was in the days of Noah, so it will be at the coming of the Son of Man. Matthew 24:37. In other words, history may repeat, and just as judgment came before, it will come again. But like before, God is offering a way out. What about us? If you were alive in Noah's time, would you have believed him? Would you have mocked or entered the ark? Today, we live in a world with striking similarities: corruption, violence, spiritual apathy. Yet God, in his mercy, still calls. He offers rescue, not through a wooden boat, but through a wooden cross. Noah's story reminds us that God warns before he acts, that his justice is real. But so is his love. Final reflection. The flood changed everything, but it also revealed something timeless. When everything seems lost, God makes a way. You may be facing storms in your life, chaos, confusion, loss. But the same God who preserved Noah through judgment can preserve you through your darkest days. So the next time you see a rainbow, remember, it's not just pretty colors in the sky. It's a promise, a sign of mercy, a message that after the storm comes new life.